Q follow. So without further ado, Coach, the floor is yours.
Well, Coach, thanks for having me. I'm really excited. I can't say enough about coaches in the Flexbone community and how much they helped me. I had a lot of option background, more like the Georgia Southern type stuff prior, like so kind of gun option stuff. I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen right here. But then, and then, uh-oh, oh, never mind, we're good. So then I had, I can't get to the tab. Hold on. I'm not that old. There we go. Can everybody see my screen? Maybe
Good
not.
to go. I see it.
Blink twice if you can see it. And so, man, the Flexbone guys, they helped me out a ton. The Telegram chat's awesome. It's the best resource for Flexbone coaches. If you're not in it, get in it. Tony, Tony can get you signed up. But guys, I had a lot of option background before, and then kind of spread option stuff. And then I got off into the single wing world, and I spent 4 years in that at a school that I was at. And then I really wanted a way to kind of blend the two offenses, and I kind of got linked up with Army. Cody Worley's going to speak. He's much smarter, much smarter than I am with this stuff, and so it kind of bridged the gap for me. Gave me like that physical run. Not that Flexbone wasn't physical before, but I didn't want to option every play, and so I think it would shock you guys to know how much Army really does not. Obviously, this year they struggled a little bit, but they don't really run it all that much. But I want to talk about a play that for us is kind of a program play. It is something that we really build our offense on. We call it Q follow. We call it Oregon and Ducks. Is how it's our terminology, in our system. But I want to talk about why Q follow. And this was kind of the play that attracted me to Army the most. It has kind of a single wing type mentality to it, where you're getting 11 hats at the ball, and it's not so much a read play, but it still uses the option count to manipulate people. So I went to Army. I flew up there for 6 days, and it was one of the most incredible experiences I ever had. Those guys are really, really awesome. So this play was originally built off of a load speed option scheme where they would block outside zone, pitch off a number two. And then Navy was really the first to do it the way that it has developed over the years. And they did it with, oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank. Malcolm Perry, when he was the quarterback there, he was such a good player, such a good athlete that they were able to put him in a situation where he could do this stuff. And the option became not as important because many games they had the best player on the field. Now, they may not have the best 11, but he was really good. To me, that's what makes this play really good. A lot of times when you run a flex punt offense, your quarterback is a really good player. You might have other people that are really good players, but if he's a good runner, this is a great play for you guys. So Army is going to kind of take that play and transition it. They still block outside zone, but their rules kind of create like an off tackle type scheme. And we'll talk about it here in just a second. So most people get this play wrong. Harding does run a version of this play. I'm not saying they're wrong. They run this version. They run a version kind of off of VEER where they take their flex player and pin number one or number two to the tackle, and kind of block it off of VEER or zone dive. It's also not what any doctors of sport and performance psychology says it is. That's kind of an inside joke. If you're in the Telegram chat, you definitely get that. And guys, the biggest thing was when I was researching this play, everybody who was really helpful, who guys have become friends of mine, guys, people were just they were just wrong and about this play. And so it was kind of a thing where like people were telling me it was one thing, and I kept looking at it and I was like, I just don't think that's what they're doing. And so I just decided to get on a plane and fly to West Point and Highland Falls and spend some time with them. And so it really worked out. I was very lucky to get to do that. This play really is just using outside zone to manipulate the option count, and we'll talk about how that kind of fits in here in just a second. So we categorize a series of our offense that we call the zone series. And that series is really a way for us to run the triple without having to read people. We just kind of use our blocks to manipulate guys. So the first play in that series is our dive play, which we're not going to talk about it, but I do think it's important that you guys kind of understand how this all fits together. So our version of zone dive, we don't run VEER, so it's kind of a scheme unique to itself. It is a little different than maybe traditional zone dive, or definitely different than traditional zone dive where you're basing people. Um, it's in a lot of ways it's like a fast duo is maybe a good way to think about it. But basically, we use the terminology that we're going to skim with the slot through number one in the count to the play side linebacker, and we use the terminology with our flex player that we're going to dig number two. Now I'm talking really fast, but I really just want to get you guys to the film so you guys can kind of see it in action, and maybe have some questions that you can ask at the end. So follow is our answer to when number one is creating problems on zone dive. When he's squeezing, whether he's tilted running through the B gap or whether he's just playing really good technique and really being physical and sticking on that tackle. So what we do there is we sort number one, which essentially takes our slot and our tackle, and instead of using inside footwork on skim, which is what the I stands for, we use an outside footwork step. But for the other, 8 or 9 people in the play, it really doesn't change. It really turns it into an outside zone scheme. We're going to talk about the rules here in a minute. Uh, we will change what our flex does. We use a term we call wall, where as long as number two is head up to outside of you, we're going to win inside leverage, and we're going to try to crease the box right there in the C gap. Once number two gets down inside, we're going to pin him with a lightning block, is what we call it. Kind of very similar to how Harding does it and jump around him. We'll loop our slot around to the play side linebacker when that happens. And then our answer for when follow becomes tough is rocket toss. And so we call it zone toss just because it fits with zone dive, zone follow, zone toss. But it's the same thing that you guys are running with rocket. So it's not any different. All right, so this play to us is a catch-all play. We really call this play a program play. It's kind of a non-option play that's physical and overwhelming at the point of attack. There's times, and I'll show you guys on film, where we get literally quadruple teams on 4 techniques or 5 techniques. So we're able to really punish people and dent the line of scrimmage, and that fits with the types of kids that we have. I put this picture in the last slide and this slide, but these are the types of players that we have. We are not we it is not an exaggeration when I say that we were out athleted in all 10 contests last year. We were 5-5. We lost 4 of those 5 by less than a touchdown. And so it was pretty heartbreaking to kind of just continuously have that happen. But we're a really young team, so we're hoping to do a little better next year. So the play is really sound. It's really gap sound versus a lot of different defenses. You guys are going to see a lot of junk defenses on the clips tonight. I really was looking to find clean cut defenses that, because obviously when you install it, you're going to talk about what we call a 3-2 box, which is an Okie, what we call a 4-1 box, which is like, a 6-1 in a lot of flexbone terminology, 4-2 box, bear, stack. But guys, we just saw so many junk fronts. It's really just, it's hard to, and you guys deal with that same thing. And we play with a lot of unbalanced sets. And so we kind of create that world too. So it's not like, it's not all the defense's fault. Some of it's our fault, but this is a really good play. This play can insert, it can hit off tackle, or it can hit on the perimeter. It's physical and tough and sets the tone. We ran for 3,600 yards this year. Our quarterback ran for 1,500 yards, and like 987 of them came off of this play. So he ran for virtually 1,000 yards on this play. And the next point that I make on this slide, which is kind of weird, is what I call concentration of force. This was something I talked a lot about with single wing. And it's really simple, guys. And this is pretty deep, but it's true. Guys, it's the same tactic that militaries used to conquer Europe. It's the same thing that Napoleon used and Alexander the Great used and the Greeks used. The idea is that if we can get packed in tight, they might have 150 players on their sideline, but it doesn't matter because it's all that matters is the 11, and we can create and concentrate that force in different ways than what other people can do with we can kind of create a different approach. So that's throwing me off a little bit. We can kind of create a little bit different approach to how we play football. So if our nuts are on the line, this is what we're calling. So this is a program play for us. These are kind of the rules. We'll roll through it pretty quick. Something that is a little different uh, is what we call a backside flex and a play side flex. So our base formation is with double flex. And so that double flex for us could be a tackle, it could be an X, it could be a Y. So those 3 players, we don't really categorize that stuff as like tackle, Y, or X. Like to us, you're just a flex in that situation. And the flex man is going to always be the third and fourth guy in the surface. So they're kind of the adjuster for us. That's how we operate. Now we do get into some spread, some old school spread flex bone stuff, but not as much as you would think. We're very similar to Army in regards to we want to play tight and we want to use as many double teams and angles as we can get with those guys because obviously they can't cut on the second level anymore in college. But to me, in our situation, we're playing against 4 stars and 3 stars, and it's a little bit easier for us to handle those guys when they're running on the second level when we're packed in tight. So we're going to scoop everything from the backside flex to the third man in the surface all the way to the center. We use the term breach, which is a little bit different than what a lot of people say. So we teach a reach block is a base block, but on the outside on the outside half of the defender. So, the same kind of concept in footwork. Now we do still preach like backside knee through crotch, backside hand through sternum in terms of like an outside zone scheme. But we really want our players to have the mentality of we're trying to win outside hat placement and then push that guy vertical and base block that defender just with our hat on the outside of them. So that's kind of the mentality we want our kids to have. Our play side tackle is going to use a sort technique that you guys are going to see in a minute, which is essentially just an outside zone technique. It's a breach block with our slot kind of helping on the outside. We talk about having meat on the bone and all that kind of stuff. And we preach to the slot, like on the play side slot spot. We're sorting number one. If there's any meat on the bone, we want to break that defender's ribs. And so, some people call it a tap lift. We don't really tap lift it with that guy because a lot of times, he's not physically as big as what a uh, a lineman would be. So we talk about force and mass and how that creates advantages for us. So and I got this from Navy years ago. They preach the 4 Ps, which is pop, push, proximity, and oh my God, pop, push, proximity, and pad level. And so to us, if you can't generate a lot of push with the mass that's behind your body, you have to generate a lot of pop. And so we literally do tell our slots to break their ribs if you can. I mean, we're not very nice about it. We want to do everything inside the rules, but we want our kids to be violent, and we are not friends with the people that we're playing. I hope that's kind of how everybody is. That's certainly how I coach. So if number two is outside of our play side flex or head up, we're going to win inside leverage. So we'll step with our inside foot, winning inside hat placement, and we're basing that guy out. If that guy's inside, and we do give our kids a little bit of wiggle room, if that guy's head up and he keeps spiking inside, we'll make a lightning call. And what we're trying to do at that point is we're trying to pin that defender to our tackle and create a kind of a 3-on-2 situation inside with a train call that we'll talk about here in a minute and all that good stuff. It's just easier to teach off of film. So I figured that's what you guys wanted to get to. Our backside slot does use what we call tail motion. Some people call it early motion, um, we heel pick. So we get that guy moving. We're trying to create secondary rotation. If the guys are going to move with the motion, we want those guys to kind of declare where they're going to go, who's pitch, who's support, who's going to be your deep back. And we try to do that to help our fullback out. So our fullback's eyes are going to go to the sort block, and he's going to insert if it gets pushed out right there into the B gap. So it kind of sometimes versus, especially like even front, sometimes if you get like a shade and a 5, it looks like a almost B gap ISO. But if we reach the edge, he's going to run around the edge and he's looking to insert inside of the flex player. If we get a lightning scheme, he becomes an edge fitter, which sounds really complicated, but it's kind of just common. It's kind of just common sense and natural fits. It's not anything crazy. We tell the quarterback he's going to soft hop out from under center, and we want to get 2 cleats in the ground, and we want to follow the fullback. That's why we call it follow. So, and the first clip that I'm going to show you guys is a gun clip. Don't everybody kick me out of the chat, but we do some gun stuff very similar to Army, because it can kind of create some advantages in the scheme. Where on the backside now you can kind of access those gaps, and we'll talk about what that stuff is here in just a second. So the first clip I'm going to show you guys of Oregon and Ducks. All right. So we actually screw this play up, but this is just a really good example of like kind of a clean box. So we get a head up technique right here. We're running Oregon. I don't know if y'all can see. Can y'all see my mouse? I'm not sure if y'all can or not. But right here, we're running Oregon. So we're going this way. All right. So we're going to sort block with our tackle and our play side slot. He's going to step with his outside foot, trying to win outside leverage. If the tackle can cover the outside half of that guy up, our slot is also stepping outside foot and he's running through off the hip of that tackle. We tell him on his second step, he's got to get connected to the hip. All right. If the tackle covers that guy up, we're fitting the linebacker right now. All right. Now we want to step with this guy being head up. We want to step inside foot first with our flex player and block that guy. And that's kind of the crease right here, right, that we're trying to run this ball in. So we're not necessarily always trying to capture the edge. In this instance, this player is head up. So anytime we're in an outside zone scheme and we've got a defender head up, it could be a two technique on our guard, or it could be a four technique on our tackle. And we even progressed to kind of making the call on a four eye technique just because it fit up a little bit better. Um, if we have that guy head up of us and we think he may go B gap, the tackle is going to look inside to the guard. And he's going to make a train call, and that just means I'm attaching you with me, and we are training this defender to the play side linebacker. So we are getting effectively a triple team right here, depending on how it works its way out to this play side linebacker. Our center and our guard are working a scoop combo on the backside. So we are going to take outside zone footwork. He's going to throw his hat in what we call the crease of the scoop, which is the space between the center and the nose guard in this instance. All right. And we are working all of our scoop blocks to the backside linebacker. And so we are trying to get square on our third step if we can to kind of fit that guy fitting over the box. And what we do is this X, our tackle is obviously scooping through the B gap, right? Our X is also scooping the C gap. All right. So we ask our X receivers to get down and dirty. We don't need a killer block. We just want that porch extended a little bit on the backside to make sure that we don't get run down from somebody. And sometimes it didn't really happen to us, but I could see where it would happen with a five technique on a two-man surface on the backside. But I'm going to show you where our Y makes a mistake right here and where this probably should have been a really big play. And so right here, you see our Y jumps outside and he makes no lightning call. So we try to get outside leverage, and really we should be stepping inside and trying to kick that defender out. And you can see if you look right in here, we've got exactly what we want if we could have gotten that defender based out. But instead, our Y screws it up. The play gets strung out, and we only gain, I guess we gain a few yards, but not nearly enough. So, but that's kind of the base way that we teach it and how we coach it. And we try to be really, really, really violent and physical with it. All right. So this is as our fullback. He's in the gun right here, guys. So his eyes go right here to the sort block. So if we are able to capture the edge, the fullback is going to insert. Obviously, with this play fitting the way that it did, and our Y trying to reach this number two defender, the fullback fits outside, but that kind of screwed the whole play up. All right, so we should be fitting our fullback up in here on this extra fitter to be able to account for that guy. All right. Now, the next play, I put it in there. It's goal line. It's the same game, but just to kind of show you guys how sometimes the play, how sometimes that fullback will fit the safety and sometimes he'll fit the corner. In this situation, we have a clear corner threat. So our fullback should see that before the play starts. And he knows if this corner fires, I'm going to fit him right now to make sure we can kind of keep this play alive. And he does that. They called this a touchdown. I don't know if it was, but I'll take it. All right. So this play is really good out of unbalance. You'll have to excuse our drone flyer. Sometimes they fly a blimp copy. We're working with them. I've only been here a year, so we got to get those guys coached up. But right here we get another 3-2 box, and we're going to bounce to heavy, and so we're going to trade our tackle over. Now they do not fit this very well. Now I'm showing you guys this clip because later on I'm going to talk about a call that we added actually because of this play. So right here, our tackle should be sorting this four technique. Our slot is sorting with the tackle to the play side linebacker, right? For this guy when he fits. We should be basing this guy inside out, and I believe he does that. But that puts our tackle kind of in limbo, which we ended up adding a call as the year went on, where really we do this. We're going to sort this guy. All right. We're going to make a thunder call with the outside tackle, and this guy's going to come around. Right. And so we're really getting a triple team right here at the point of attack with the guard, the tackle, and the extra tackle. We're still scoop combo in the nose to the backside linebacker. We're still scooping through the B gap, and we're going in early motion. All right. But right here, our tackle doesn't do that. Now, we scored a touchdown, but you see how we kind of waste the tackle a little bit there? He ends up kind of getting involved, but really the fullback cleans it up. And so we end up scoring. but I felt like our tackle was kind of left in no man's land. And so later on, I'll show you a clip of when we make the Thunder call. But now we kind of get into some of the junk front. So I'm going to walk you through some of the rules that we use to kind of clean up some of that stuff. This was early in the year, and this is kind of shows how even when we're in unbalanced sets, how everything kind of works out. So right here, we don't really have a true number one, which is why we have a C gap responsible player. Our tackle is going to help on this three technique right here, but our heavy tackle is the flex. And so he has a defender outside of him. So he's going to take that guy and wall him out. And now we're going to try to crease this thing right here. And fortunately, we have a really good player at quarterback, and it works out. Now, very similar to outside zone, at times we will get a cutback, or because this is outside zone ultimately, we will get a cutback at times on the second level. And so we try to coach our quarterback to really follow that fullback and get skinny and get really physical through there. Um, Here's a situation where we don't have a backside C gap or yeah, backside C gap scooper. And so this porch, if this team was any better, but the play hits so fast from under center that that kid's not able to make a play. At times in the shotgun, um, you do access those backside gaps a lot better. But now, you gain that advantage. But the con to that is now if you can't, if that backside C gap guy can run it down and make a play, you start running into some issues. All right. Now I put this clip on there. We're in an overset. So we're in over wide right here, over right wide. Now we add this motion to the play because it really kind of turns this play even more single wing than before. So if we're really looking for mass at the point of attack, we'll motion our backside slot across instead of in tail motion to try to get his hat kind of added into the box. You guys see Army do that all the time, and we got it from them. So this is not something I've come up with, but our kids do a really good job right here of kind of sorting through this. We get a late shift, and this is the kind of physicality that we want and we expect our team to play with. This to me is kind of an intimidating level of physicality. I think a lot of times as coaches we get so caught up in the X's and O's, and really it's about kind of the carnage that we can create and kind of that mentality that we can create in our kids. And so this is kind of a great example of that. We do a really good job. If you just look at that pile, I love looking at that pile of bodies and our quarterback kind of coming over the top of it to score a touchdown. This was our homecoming game, so we beat them pretty good. But so these guys shift late, right? Our guys really do a good job because while this is not really a junk defense, I guess to some extent it is. We got guys walked up all over the place, even though the first level is pretty clear cut. We should be sorting number 65 right here with our slot and our tackle, and we should actually be sorting this thing to 27. All right, but the kid makes a judgment call, which is why we just kind of we show as many fronts as we can show to try to clean up some of these looks. And our kids do make a lot of judgment calls on this play, and so we try to educate them on kind of where we want stuff and how we want stuff to go. But our slot, because they slide late, our slot is going to end up fitting this defender, which allows our backside slot, who's in motion, to kind of insert on the play and create that extra hat that we want him to have. And so, kind of here, it almost looks like a little bit of a power play, which a lot of times when you watch Army, it kind of looks like that. It kind of gets, kind of hodgepodged in there, and it's kind of hard to tell. Are they blocking outside zone? Are they blocking down? Or kind of what are they doing? But I think this is just a great example. I love this play. I showed it to our kids a bunch of times when we played this team because this is what we want. We want bodies on the ground and we want carnage. That's exactly what we're going for every single play. This is the play from the end zone or from the side view rather. All right, so here you have a really good example of kind of that insert from the fullback. So again, I know we're really far out. I apologize, guys. But like right here, we're going to work a base block with our flex player. Our tackle and our slot are going to sort this five technique up here at the top or on the right side. So they're sorting this guy, right? And what happens is that five technique plays out. And our center has been called over because we're getting a two technique inside on our guard. So our guard is going to look back at our center and he's going to say, hey, train, train, train. And that just means you're attached to me, you're training behind me. Now, if this guy goes A gap, you can overtake. If this guy plays out, I'll take him and you'll fit the linebacker. And that to us is a little different than how we coach a scoop combo. Scoop combos are a lot more kind of defined in our system in terms of who's going to take who. But on a train block, it is a true outside zone block. We just try to get our kids playing as vertical as they can play. We don't like a bucket step on outside zone. We don't want to give any ground that we have to give. And one of the reasons is because we play from under center so much that we feel like if we're giving ground, we're going to create kind of some janky reads for our quarterback. So we want to play with really good pad level and fire off, and we want to base that defender on the outside half of his body, which is really what we're going through. And again, I said it before, but we do stress getting backside knee through crotch, backside hand through sternum, which is an outside zone coaching point. And this is an outside zone play. It's just kind of modified. But right here, the 5 technique is going to get pushed out. He's going to play outside, and you guys are going to see our fullback insert. And this is a lot of times people kind of get confused about kind of what this play is because it kind of looks like a B gap ISO right there. Our quarterback is the cutback king. That's what I always tell him. He'll cut back into anything. Sometimes I wish he'd just stay front side with it, or 90% of the time I wish he would, but as long as he runs for 1,500 yards, I won't complain too much. So this is a good kind of example, even though it's a sideline shot of it's the same play. So you can kind of see this 5 technique get pushed out. To me, this is a really good example of what our fullback and what our quarterback are looking at. We tell them if they see the numbers of those two players, so like he sees 56 pretty clearly right there. Well, obviously we know we got to get vertical and get what we can get because we play under center so much, and because a lot of times it's hard to find his hat in the mosh pit that we create. We want that guy to get skinny and get vertical. And if he has to fall forward for 3 yards, then we're cool with it. If he can pop out the other side, we're really good with that as well. He had runs of 85, 80, and 75. So he's a really good player. So when you ask me what brings this play to life, I'll tell you that kid. We coach really hard. We hold our kids to a really high standard. We do not coach very softly. I know in today's world, I would think in this chat, there's a lot of men that do that. But we coach very hard, but he is what breathes this play to life. I don't want to get that twisted. We're very thankful to have him. All right. Now this is a little bit of an adjustment we can make versus a 4-3 team or what we call a 4-1 team. So right here we've got a linebacker. So this team is clearly a 4-3 team. I think they only have nope, we're good. It's a 4-3 team. I was gonna say I thought they only had 10 guys in the box, or 10 guys on the field, but there's the other. When this Will linebacker or Sam, this play side linebacker, tucks inside the 5 technique, we will make a little bit of a game plan adjustment and we'll let this flex player to the call side kind of help with that 5 technique on his way to him because, at this point, we're taking number 2 is technically that guy, as weird as that may seem. That may not seem weird. I guess that's just the count, right? But we will work if this linebacker right here was outside of the box, right? He would fit him right there, and then we would leave the sort block one-on-one with the 5 technique, or not one-on-one, but we would combo the 5 technique right there. With this guy being tucked in the box, we tell the kids a very simple rule. If you can hit anything on your way to what you're supposed to block, we want you to knock the shit out of it. And so we want 27 right here to get flat, and we want him to get in the rib cage of that 5 technique. We want him to make that 5 technique think, I have no idea where people are hitting me from all night long. And then 27 is going to then fit. So he'll fit here, and then he's going to try to fit that Sam linebacker, that play side linebacker. For us, we would technically classify that guy as a will and try to help out there. So this play kind of looks a little bit more off tackle-ish, but I am going to talk about something that we tell our slots. So one of the things we tell our slot player, especially, or obviously our front side slot player, this kid right here, all right, we tell him that you got to get the play started. So like right here, he kind of pops up a little bit because we had kind of talked about potentially getting this look. But what we would tell that kid is to step with his outside foot like you normally want on a sort block. If anybody hammers down on that guy, right, then we are going to try to jump around. And so it's very simple. we tell our guys we want to pick or jump around that block to try to get involved in the perimeter fit of the scheme. And so, that was good to us. Now we only played a 4-3 team one time. And so we played a bunch of 4-2 teams, and guys, we really about halfway through the season, we started seeing stack. And then we had trouble with the first team. We really didn't have trouble with the first team. We got beat by a team who ran stack. We had a really good night on offense. Um, but we were inside the 5 yard line 6 times, and we only came away with 2 scores. And you can't win football games doing that. And so I guess everybody just kind of copycatted that. A lot of times, what we find, especially when I was in single wing, but now in flexbone, anytime we see a defense of a team that beats us, if we feel like they had any success in stopping us, then that's what everybody's going to do the rest of the season. And so that's kind of what we ran into the kind of the rest of the stretch. We just saw stack every week, and so we were able to kind of shred this 4-3, and so we really didn't see that a whole lot anymore. And we want to strand corners, which is kind of a term that we use. This is the same play, but it's a really good clip to kind of see that technique, helping out that sort block from a flex player. Will linebacker again, tucked in the box. 27 goes to hit that dude and gets knocked off by the tackle who gets that guy reached. And then we end up trying to stay in the play. We tell our kids we got to stay in the fight and try to get involved somewhere. And so the Will kind of gets caught in the mush, which he ends up making the tackle. I wish 27 had fit that guy and kind of sealed the box off a little bit more. But something that we do as much as possible is we try to strand corners. That's what we call, just not blocking the corner. And so we do that several ways. We do it like everybody in this chat. We're just trying to bring pitch motion and trying to make that guy play the perimeter. But even right here, if our fullback doesn't block that corner, I'm cool with a 7 or 8 yard gain. It really doesn't matter to me. We played 4 games this year. We played 2 games where we snapped the ball over 80 times. And we are the opposite of fast. We snapped the ball with about 5 seconds left in the game. So we beat a team who ended up winning the region, Dale County. We snapped the ball 83 times. Well, 81 times. 2 of them weren't gradable plays. I guess they were penalties. We snapped the ball 81 times. They only snapped the ball 35 times, and we won 21-19. The reality is, if we had given them 10 more snaps, they win that ball game. If we give them one more drive, they win the ball game. We had a 21 play drive to start the game, and they got the ball after the second quarter had started. And so to us, that's winning football. The more we can do that, the better. So we had 2 games where we snapped the ball over 80 times, and then we had 2 more games where we snapped the ball over 70 times. And I even in single wing, I had never had anything like that. And so that's the beauty of this offense. I think this is an analytic. Monken has said this before, but I agree with it. This is like the ultimate analytics offense. And to me, the analytic that matters the most is actually not time of possession. Is percentage of game. So that's kind of what we track. So in that game, so typically if we can have a 50 to 55% on offense game, we're gonna win that game. And that just means, you're always gonna have anywhere from 16 to 20% of the game is gonna be special teams. Pretty much it doesn't matter if you're getting beat by 40 or beating somebody by 40 or it's a 24-27 ball game. About 15 to 16, 20% of the game is going to be played on special teams. Well, if we can steal 50% of the game on offense, that's a really, really good night. And so we track that. That's a really important stat to us. That night, they only played 33% of the game on their offense. And so that's a really good number for us. If you guys are looking for an analytic that's easy to track, you can track it in Huddle super easy. And that one matters to us. And we talk to our kids about it. Like, how can we control this game? Um, how can we control? I'm getting coaches blow me up about about this, but how can we control this game and give our kids the best chance to succeed? And so that stat has been a pretty clear cut. If we can do that, then we can win. I'll show you guys the butt shot of this. So again, we're getting a 3-2 box with kind of a spun down safety over the flex player. I guess you could call this kind of a bastard defense. It's really just 3-2 to us. And so we're going to bounce our right tackle over to create an unbalanced trip set. And so this was the first play of this game. We do end up losing this game, but you can kind of see our kids even though we're getting, so like for example, by definition, we would tell our flex player number 11 right here that we should pin this guy. And our slot, as weird as this may look, our slot should run around it and he should block the inside linebacker. And now our fullback's going to take this player and we're going to be off and running, right? But our kids, because we do such a good job of just showing these looks over and over and over again, it's, we on Tuesdays we get about 80 snaps on offense and we play our kids both ways. Um, we are very fast in practice, and so yeah, we think it prepares our kids, even though we play really slow. Our slot kind of makes a judgment call, and he kind of waves off the lightning block from number 11, which again would be this, and 26 looping around. 26 looks out there and says, "I can't get around you." So when he waves it off, now number 11, even though this guy's inside leverage of him, he's got to get flat and get his hat inside so we can crease this thing where we want the play to go. And you guys know how it is when you're playing option football and you're getting people loading the box. Once you pop out the other side, if you've got one kid on your team that can score and not get caught, that's really really important. Fortunately for us, it's our quarterback, and he's a sophomore, so we got him coming back. Um, So this is kind of a good example. This is the same team, but this is a really good example, kind of clean cut of what the play looks like from under center. We're going to get a very good sort block from our right tackle right here. He's going to sort this. We're sorting with him again on the second step. We're trying to get our hip attached to that tackle's hip, and we're working up to this play side linebacker right here. All right, our fullback, we get a very clear edge on how this thing is going to be fit. We've got inside leverage for days on number 20, the outside linebacker. So we're going to wall that and try to crease this thing off tackle right here. So it really is an outside zone scheme that fits. We want it to hit off tackle. And so we're able to get this thing creased. If you watch our fullback, I'll give you the side view one more time. If you watch our fullback, he does a good job of getting his eyes through the sort block with the tackle in the slot on the play side and kind of feeling this thing out and inserting inside of them for the extra fit. And we call him the trash player. We want him to get to a third level defender, but sometimes we miss on the play side linebacker. And that's the reason this play is so good. It's really forgiving. You can kind of afford to make some mistakes and still be successful. If we can get this play blocked up 5 times in a game perfect, we feel like we're going to score 3 times. And to us, that's winning football. That's probably winning football for anybody. Like I would say, this is not a good third level block. Let's see how many yards we get. Whatever, 4, give or take. To me, that's good. Then we get to line up and do it again. All right. So here's some more gun stuff. Guys, this is the same play, but you're going to see that front side get pushed out a good bit. And so for us, this is our number one gun run. And I told y'all at the beginning, I'm really a single wing coach at heart. And so this is a really good way for us to get into some direct snap type looks. You guys probably saw Bryson Daly doing stuff like this at Army. It is truly a single wing mentality of like we're direct snapping it to our quarterback, who while our quarterback can throw the ball around a little bit, we do, in this sense, we think about him as a tailback. This team is also not very good. Now our slot back here or our flex back here on the backside. This player right here does a really bad job. This was early in the year, so we screw this up. He should be scooping through the hands of our tackle, or we're in heavy, so that's our tight end technically. He should be scooping through the hands of our tight end for that defender. If this was a better team and this kid comes loose and squeezes it down, we could potentially have a problem. We obviously had to get that corrected. Now he's going to end up throwing a good block that kind of springs the touchdown, but it really doesn't matter. If you don't get the play started the way it needs to get started, then you could potentially, that's all that matters. You got to handle home first. Let's see if I don't have a butt shot of this. I'm sorry, guys. Got a couple clips I don't have a butt shot of. So right here, we're playing our rival, and we go with the across motion. if I could pause it right here in a butt shot, it looks just like a single wing formation. And so we're getting good leverage on the outside defender. You can also tell that he is concerned, even when we go gun, we run no option out of gun. He is concerned about option responsibility. So you see number two in the count right here jumping out outside when he really needs to force the play and spill it to that inside linebacker who's tucked behind him. And so that hipped linebacker off that five technique. So it kind of, it plays on the option count from the perspective of if that guy's been taught all week, you have to take pitch, you have to take pitch, you have to take pitch, or you have to take quarterback. Well, our quarterback's jumping out from under center, he's running wide. Well, now number two is going to feather the play, and it makes a really easy kind of wall block from our flex player, or whether he's a Y tight end or a tackle. And it allows us to get really good leverage and kind of kick that defender out and hit this play up inside. So right here is a good example. If you look at our slot at the top, I don't have butt shot on this play. I apologize, guys. If you look at our slot at the top, you can kind of tell that this five technique is really where what he should be playing is a five technique. He's really playing head up to inside leverage. So our tackle is able to win there. So our slot is going to work up to this defender, and it creates a situation where this defender plays a little wide. Excuse me, guys. Plays a little wide. And so now our slot has an easy kind of kick out block similar to a guard pull on like a power scheme or a H-back on a counter scheme. And we're able to get that guy pushed to the sideline and kind of crease it behind him. And again, if we've got corners falling in making the tackle, well, we're good with that. If we can make a corner tackle, if we snap the ball 60 times and a corner tackles us 60 times, that's a good night. All right, so this play gets started a little bit late, but I want to talk to you guys a little bit about the thunder call that we made. We started adding to this play. So anytime we get in a four-man surface, so right here we're in heavy right and we're in over. So our flex player is over. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 players on that side of the line. And we do consider the flex players a part of our surface. And so when we run belly, our tight ends never put their hands down. And so we might be foot to foot with a tackle, but we're still up in a 2-point stance, even if we're running gap scheme. And so right here, we're getting a train call with our guard and our tackle. All right, we're sorting this thing with our tackle and our slot, and we're getting and we're getting a thunder call from our outside tackle, our extra player on the play. So when we get a thunder call on the play, our slot is going to treat it a lot like lightning. So we're going to get a triple team from the tackle, the outside tackle, and the guard on this 4 technique. Our slot is going to loop around to the play side linebacker, and then we're going to base this guy. Now, a simple way to think about why we make a thunder call is what we started figuring out is when we get in unbalanced, a lot of teams to keep their option responsibility the same don't don't kick the front, they don't slide the front. And so we were gaining a gap, but we felt like we were wasting a player. We weren't generating mass. I think a lot of times in football, coaches talk about, we want to get more numbers at the point of attack. Well, that's fine if they're all still one-on-ones and your one-on-one guys can't win. It doesn't matter how many people you put over there. You're still not going to you're still just going to get blown up and you're not going to have an option of anywhere to run. And so we wanted to create a call where, okay, so we got an extra guy over there. Well, how do we generate more mass at the point of attack and wedge people? Guys, we call our zone dive and zone follow, we call them scrum plays. And so, we ran quarterback sneak 77 times this year because when we started getting teams that were playing threes and fives to try to take away our zone dive, zone follow stuff, we wanted to be able to attack those A gaps. We call this stuff scrum plays because we want it to look like a rugby scrum. To me, that's the advantage that we can kind of create and generating more mass at the point of attack. So this is an example of our thunder call when we trade our tackle over, when we line up with him over, and we gain that extra number, we're adding the mass back to the box and creating a huge dent at the line of scrimmage. Here's another example of the thunder call. Now that guy spikes B gap, and they're getting some weird backer blitz, which is not sound, but it works out for us. And you would be surprised how many times you get that call. You line up in this front, and especially versus odd front, and we end up getting the same call. Here's a look at it from the top down on the goal line. Our fullback has a really good Mike linebacker B gap pickup right here. I was really proud of this. But if you guys just look at when the play starts, we've essentially got a four-man wedge with these guys destroying this player right here, trying to create push. And what that does is we're not wasting players because this guy's still coming around to fit that guy. We've still got our scoop combo working from here to that Mike linebacker. So we're not losing hats on this play when we make a thunder call or when we gain all these numerical advantages. We could have also motioned across and inserted our backside slot. We do that a lot, and so I know I showed you that guys that earlier. But guys, it makes it where it's really impossible for this linebacker to fit it. There's nothing worse for a linebacker when D linemen are getting destroyed and you don't know how to fit the play. Our quarterback is the only player on our entire roster that can run away from people, and so we want the ball. I mean, he carried the ball. You know, there was a lot of games he carried the ball over 30 times. I mean, that's just the mentality that we have. Like that's what we have to do to be successful. Again, it helps the flex player on this block when this guy thinks I have to take pitch or I have to take quarterback, and now this player is your support player. It makes it where you really can't fold back into the play, and it makes it a super easy block on him. That dude is still worried because of the pitch motion about getting out leveraged on the pitch. And again, I would be remiss if I didn't say this is a hellacious pickup from our fullback right here. Our center kind of gets cut down and our fullback ends up picking this guy up on a B gap run through. And we do coach that. I probably should have said this earlier. Our fullback, his number one job is if we do get B gap pop, he's got to collision it and keep the play alive. And so, guys, I would love to take questions if anybody has them. I know I talk really fast. I apologize. So if anybody has questions, feel free to answer them or to ask them. I wanted to make sure I left about 10 minutes, so I know I talk fast to be able to kind of talk about it.
Yeah,
Um,
for what I can see here in the chat, Clint, I got a couple I'll read out to you from some of these coaches.
yeah,
Coach Easton says, I know you're talking Q follow, but you said this was a part of your zone series. Do you reverse pivot on your rocket or is it just a step pitch?
we do reverse pivot, and we send fullback. We call it blocking the backside chaser. And so those plays to me marry up really well because it works out really simply. When you can win inside leverage on number one, you run zone dive. When number one stops giving up when he starts taking inside leverage away, you run zone follow to crease between him and number two. When number one and number two get nosy down in there, you try to win leverage on the outside, and we crack it just like most people do, and we pull the front side of the line. We reach and run, and so we do reverse pivot, but we do call it zone toss, but it's just rocket toss. It's not any different. And so to me, we call that. So if we call those zone dive, goose is what we call our quarterback sneak, and zone follow our scrum plays. Just like in rugby, we talk about with our kids. We want to break the scrum, then we call zone toss. That's kind of our mentality.
All right. Another coach said, we don't run any outside zone currently. So right now, there's never a time in our offense that we would ask the play side guard to reach block a three technique. The
Mhm.
play side guard has a three technique that stays in B gap. Is it solely the job of the play side guard to get that defender reached?
Yes and no. So if to answer your question, you know, we do it both ways. It kind of depends on the team. So if we feel like we're better than them up front, well, then we'll leave that guy on an island and we'll have him reach him. And now, if that three technique runs across his face, we'll have our quarterback try to get skinny and insert backs and kind of fall back, kind of, I guess, for to use a flexbone term, kind of sink that play into the A gap. But no, we do make a train call. So if we were to get I know I said we do it mostly when the guys are head up, but really where we move towards the end of the year because we got so good at it, we were doing it all the time. We just told our guards make a train call on the three technique, and so now our guards trying to throw his backside hand through the sternum and he's trying to get his backside knee through the crotch and we're running. We do not bucket step. And so, but he'll make a train call to the center to try to overtake that three technique if he can, because you guys know if you've got the fullback established, I understand those D linemen are reading blocks, but if you have the fullback established, those guys are usually slow to the outside. They're usually inside concerned. If we get a three technique that's that problematic, we'll run trap or we'll midline him to try to control him a little bit and make him kind of play on his heels. We also do a lot of different stuff with our cadence. And so we have a lot of different things we can do with our cadence, and it's kind of tied to our shifts that we try to slow those guys down to help our guys. Because our guys on the O line are, even though outside zone's our biggest play that we ran, they're, you guys saw a picture of them. They're not really like outside zone build type guys. They're maulers. And so we're trying to, be as vertical as we can be. But so to answer your question, sometimes we would solo block a three technique, but we don't like doing that. If we can call the center over on a train, but now it puts pressure on the backside guard to get that shade cut off. But we feel like we can cut that guy. You know what I mean? And so we can kind of keep the play alive and kind of try to get the center over to that three technique.
All right, next question. It says, where in huddle do you track percentage of game?
So it's super simple. It's the easiest thing I've ever done. So once you get your film ODK'd, you just click analyze. Like you drop, you get the little. I can show you if you want me to. Let me share. Let me share my screen real quick. So once you get the play, hold on, guys. I'm sorry. All right, so let me get out of this. Once, let me just go to like Daleville. Hold on. All right, so this is our full game of Daleville. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it.
All right, so if you look in this ODK column, you just go right here. There's a little tab that pops up. You click Analyze, and then you just hit these little three bars in the middle. All right, so this game we had 61 snaps. We played 48% of the game. So that to us is not, we would want that to be a little bit higher. And so, trying to think, what was another game we played a big percentage? SHO offense. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. Um, let's go here. So right here, so we played 80 snaps this game on offense. We had 55% of the game was played on offense. This game we had 15% was kicking, which was 22 snaps, and then the defense only played 30% of the game. Um, Now this was the game that we lost. Ironically, I know I said that it's a huge correlation to winning. We lost that game. We got inside the five, six times, and we only came away with 10 points. We kicked a field goal and scored a touchdown. They threw two trick plays and they beat us. And they scored one pretty honest touchdown. They beat us 22-10. So that was a bad night in Ashford, Alabama.
I remember those conversations because the same, it's like when you would have bad luck, I'd have the same thing. Our time of possession would look great. We get to the red zone and it's like Tony Romo, just start choking. It ain't nothing you can do about it.
And we were really young, so like we had a bunch of sophomores who were our playmakers, and so when the moments kind of came and we played, everybody had like was senior heavy, so it seemed like they were able to kind of win the moments that were the difference in the ball game, and we always kind of came up short. But that's on me, so we got to get that. I got to get that fixed.
You got plenty of time. You got a good team coming up. And with having your signal caller coming back, that really does help as well.
Thank God we have him,
Yeah.
boys. We would be in trouble if we didn't.
All right, couple more questions. Coach says, how much do you change up the formation to heavy and over?
I don't have a percentage off the top of my head, but a lot. We play in a lot of unbalanced sets. And we do kind of lean on the old flexbone adage, if the defense is balanced, you be unbalanced, and if they're unbalanced, you be balanced. But coach, there's a lot of times like if it's like we kind of pitch backwards. And so like if we ever get like a third and short and we can get our tackles together, both of them are going to go play in college. If we can get our tackles together and give them a chance to really hammer folks, then we do that. But we line up in heavy and don't unbalance the formation, if that makes sense. So like we'll go tackles to the right, and we'll go X and Y on the backside to give the defense a balanced formation and see if they slide. And then if they slide, we'll go ahead and bring the X over to get that extra hat back. And so, but a lot of times defenses won't slide unless the numbers change, if that makes sense. And so sometimes we try to personnel people, like we try to unbalance them with personnel by just staying 3 by 3 and putting both of our tackles on the same side. And sometimes we do go to heavy over, which just, which creates a 4 by 2 surface. And so we'll do that and we'll get in heavy and we'll split the guy out wide. We'll do some different stuff, but if I had to put a number on it, we're probably 40 to 45% unbalanced. I mean, it's a big part of what we do.
All
And
right.
we bounce and trade and shift and do all kinds of stuff to try to gain those numbers and all that good stuff.
Sorry about that. Next question. Coach was wondering, could you please share the blocking scheme again? I guess that was that slide that you had up with the rules.
Yeah, for sure. And guys, I don't know if he can give you all my contact information. I'm happy to do it. If anybody wants to get their phone out, I don't know how I would like put it on the screen. Can I draw it? How do you do this? Um,
I can put it in the chat if you'd like me to.
Yeah, put it in the chat. And if you have my phone number if you want to just put it in the chat. And you guys reach
All
out,
right.
I'll share anything. I have nothing to hide. Let me share my screen again real quick. That way I can put those blocking rules back up there. But I'm happy to send them to you. Um, and so the best part about this play, while I have this pulled up, I can kind of mention this, is on the back side of zone dive, zone follow, and zone toss, we block them the same with the exception of the center. And so the center, he loose scoops the A gap as opposed to just regular scooping, which just means that we're not going to scoop combo anything. And so if we get a head up nose on zone diver zone follow, we're going to make a bob call, which is our call to scoop combo that guy. And so to the backside linebacker, where we try to get a little more vertical push as opposed to just scooping that thigh pad. Um, if we are running toss, we tell them you're loose scooping, but everybody else has the same scoop rules, and so we do our half line just like Army does. So we don't do half line here, even though we don't have a ton of players. We don't do half line here to try to get the best scout look we can get. We do half line because we want to get reps, and so about 60 or 70% of our offense we can rep without the backside because we're just scooping. And so, or we're just bracketing was what we call our triple option is not, guys, our triple option is just inside zone from under center. It's just zone read from under center. So we don't block VEER, although we do read the old VEER count. That's the same thing Army does now. To me, it's the same thing Navy does for the most part. I do know they run a little bit of VEER. It's a good way of doing it if you're looking to. So our triple and our midline triple uses the same track. We just tag a 3 or read a 3. That's the difference. And so because we've simplified the backside of our plays, on a Tuesday, it's nothing for us to get 75, 80 snaps in I don't know 55 minutes or 50 minutes of offense. And so that's humming. Now we're moving, but we can do it because we're able to split our offense in half and kind of go half line opposite direction. So we'll line the team up on both hashes and we run it into the boundary. And then sometimes we'll kind of change that up to more of a field look, but mostly we do half line into the boundary. And so we work about 70% of our run game at the same time. And it is fast. It is moving fast. I mean, it's like one ball stop, one play ends, whistle blows, the quarterback on the other side is snapping the ball. And so we don't I know I gotta go or I gotta kick it over to Seaberg. He's gonna do a way better job than me. But we let me stop sharing. One of the ways we go so fast, guys, is I don't call anything at practice. So we use the old Mike Leach wristbands. So our entire practice script is on every one of our quarterbacks' wrists. And so anytime they're in the game, they're in charge of running the offense. And so I coach them and I'll skin them up when they screw stuff up. But you do that for about 2 weeks and then everything runs really smoothly. And so when I'm on the right hash correcting somebody, I don't have to be on the left side to tell him to play because he's got it on his wrist, if that makes sense. And so we're humming and I script the whole practice. So if we do 7-on-7, if we do not inside run, but if we do half line, if we do team, if we've got pods or we've got whatever, well, he's running. Our quarterbacks call our entire offensive practice. So I'm coaching, but I'm not having to say, hey guys, we're in heavy right ducks right here. I don't have to like get them in a huddle and do anything. He just shouts everything out. I don't care if I hope the defense hears it because it makes it it makes it harder. And so that's how we go so fast.
If there was a coach that was asking about if you're willing to share some Q follow film, I just say text coach at the number I put in the chat. Last rapid fire question before you go, and we switch things over. Depth off the ball for the O line. How deep do y'all get?
So our head coach that I'm taking over for was our O-line coach, and he's really good at his job. And he was a traditional offense guy. If it were up to me, we would be a little bit, which now I guess it is, we would we would be much deeper off the line of scrimmage. So even though I was the offensive coordinator, when the head coach is the O-line coach, you kind of have to give in some areas. And so we were not as deep as I would like to be. If it were up to me, we would be as close to illegal as we could be uh, while still being legal, and then maybe still be illegal if they'll just stop calling it. And so, which is kind of how we were with single wing, but we crowded it a little bit too much. But Army talks about having three levels to your offensive line. They have a level one, level two, and level three. Level one is like crowding the center, like trying to get even with his hat. Level two is dividing the center, and level three is obviously as close to illegal as you can get. It's close to off his toes, and so they don't use it as much now because they don't run as much veer stuff, but it's really good from the perspective of like getting your second step in the ground. So if you're an outside zone team that struggles, you can drop that O line back a little bit and kind of give them some space to get that second step in the ground and get that backside knee through the crotch and the backside hand through the sternum and give yourself a little bit of a fighting chance. If you can get both feet in the ground before the defense does, you're gonna win that rep. So